Get started. Good morning. Welcome to day 2 of the NAB Show Streaming Summit. My name is Dan Rayburn. I'm the conference chairman. You made it past day 1 and day 2 yesterday, so that's good. We always start a little bit late on day 2, obviously, to let people come in and give you a little bit of extra time. Quick show of hands. How many people here, this is your first streaming summit? Nice. That's a lot. That's great. How many people were here for my keynote yesterday? Thank you. That helps, because now I know I'm not going to repeat any of those slides from yesterday. Rule number 1, always know your audience. So I always want to know who I'm talking to. So I'm going to go through a couple things today, talking about actually sports, which we're going to get to in a minute. But some of the questions I've been getting over the last 24 hours. We are recording every single session from both days, all 3 tracks, including the AI track yesterday, thanks to Mobion. If you go to nabstreamingsummit.com, that's where you can see all video archives from all our shows for all the past years as well. It takes about a week for everything to go online. Thanks to Kaltura for giving us the platform for free. We put everything up. There's no passcodes, there's no ads, there's no restrictions. Also, I set up all the videos to download. You want to just download them, watch them offline, you can do so as well. So everything is online at nabstreamingsummit.com. Any of the presentations you saw yesterday, I'll get those online with the videos as well. If you need them faster, just email me, dan@danrayburn.com, and I'll get them from the presenters. I already have some from presenters yesterday, but I'll get those to you as quickly as I possibly can. As I mentioned yesterday, it's incredible to think that 2024 is the 3rd decade of streaming media technology. Streaming media technology first started in 1994. If you want to learn about the history of how that worked or started, you can go to my blog at streammediablog.com and type the word history. You can see a history of how the whole industry started and where it really grew. So the industry itself is about 26, 27 years old. And it's incredible to see just how much progress we've made in that time. Even from a year from being on this stage, a year ago, how much progress we've made. And yet, we still have a lot to do as an industry. As you saw me mention yesterday about how we do measurement, how we actually track and measure engagement and define it. One of the things I'm going to talk about today in terms of sports is TV is not dead. It's not dying. Our industry has been talking about TV being dead for 10 years. It's changing, obviously, how content is packaged, how it's distributed, how we're consuming it. But it's certainly not dead. In most cases in any industry, one service complements another, doesn't replace it. Almost never replaces it. It's a complement to it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. Quick thank you to everybody at the NAB for making this possible. This is Streaming Summit by Dan Rayburn, so my name's on it, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes making this all happen, so appreciate the NAB. Thanks to all of our sponsors, a lot of great sponsors, over 30 of them at the show. For anyone who made the happy hour last night, great happy hour as well. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you'll see content already started going on my LinkedIn yesterday, thanks to Adam, wherever he is in the room here. Covering a lot of the sessions for me. So we'll continue to put up information on LinkedIn as well. I'm going to mention this. So this is the last session I'm doing at the end of the day. I changed things up a little bit from what was in the program a few weeks ago. So I gave out almost 60 free tickets to the conference today for people who reached out, who'd recently lost their jobs. WWE, Paramount, Comcast, Warner Bros., WBD, you guys have seen what's been going on with consolidation. Every company doing more with less, focusing on profitability, productivity. So almost 60 free tickets from executives. So I decided the last session of the day, I'm really going to focus on how can you advance your career? How can you find a new job? What should you be saying? How do you communicate with clarity, consistency, and candor? The vast majority of LinkedIn profiles that I see and I read are really very bad. It's incredible how many just have broken links. It's incredible how many don't list their email. There's no photo of the person. Right? That is not helping you if you're trying to get a job or you're trying to advance in the industry. I helped place a lot of people over the last 20 years at companies completely free of charge. I've seen a lot of resumes. I talked to a lot of recruiters. So I'm going to go through that the last session of the day. That is open to everybody. So if there's anybody not in the Streaming Summit that you know but is at the NAB show, they're welcome to come. I'm also going to make it interactive. Bring your questions. I'll look at your LinkedIn profile afterwards, privately if you want as well. If you ever need help with that after the show, reach out to me. I offered this for the show in New York in October, and there's already 3 or 4 people who pretty quickly after the show were able to refine their pitch and got jobs right away, which was great. Right, that is the goal really of this show. Is I'm a matchmaker. That's kind of the way I think of it. It's matching the right people with the right companies. So if I can help, definitely let me know. For those who were here yesterday, as you saw, content is all I care about at this show. What is the experience you're having? So I try and program everything as if I was an attendee. So you'll see today as well, we don't have 7 speakers on a session. Right? It's all about the content we're giving out, real world. You were all here to solve problems today. So there are no sessions talking about what's going to happen 10 years from now. So my job is really to inform and educate and empower everyone with information you need, and that is the goal today. As always, I'm available. If you have any questions, that's my cell phone. When I'm on stage, even right now, Paul has my phone. If you text him right now, you'll get a reply. So having this group of Special Forces soldiers with me is great from an operations logistics standpoint. They're on top of everything. So I'm always available, even here. Biggest thing I'd like to ask is people so many times after the show email me and say, I wanted to talk to you, but I didn't want to interrupt you. Please interrupt me. That's why I'm here. I don't stay in conversations very long because I'm trying to see a lot of people, but I do want to talk to people. The other thing that I would love is feedback. And the feedback I'd love to get is what you don't like. What you don't like. Right? I get so much feedback after the show that I like this, that's great to hear, but I want to improve. I want to make this better. So what do you want to see next year? And it has to be things I can control. I can't control your hotel. I can't control the elevators, all these other things that people want me to change. I can't control that in the convention center, what the food choices are in the food court. But anything involving the content, the speakers, the format, what else you'd like to see, I'd love that feedback. We're already making a list right now of things just from yesterday that we're thinking, okay, how can we improve upon the experience? So you're paying money to be here. For those of you that bought a ticket and paid, almost all of you except for the ones that bought a ticket yesterday, got that email from me personally, not a form letter, saying, thank you for buying a ticket. What would you like to see? How can I help you? Some of you called me up. We went through the schedule beforehand to customize it for you. So I'm happy to do that anytime here on the second day as well. So since most of you sat through my presentation yesterday, I'm not going to go through those slides. I'm going to go past those. But for those who were here yesterday, if you're looking for those slides, I got a lot of requests. I put them online, danrayburn.com/keynote.pdf. Shoot, I might have gotten that URL wrong, but I have them online. So just email me. I'll send you the link from the slides from yesterday. What I wanted to go through today was sports-related content, sports-related viewership. It's incredible how much we're inundated with data in our industry in terms of numbers. I call it drinking from the fire hose. And for the vast majority of you, you have a job to do every day. And your job, unlike mine, isn't to read information all day long, right? You actually have work to do. I have the benefit of just being able to consume information all day. That is my job. Just constantly read, consume information, create content. So when you're looking at numbers, you really have to think about the focus of what you're looking at, because you could spend all day looking at numbers and still not really understand what the impact is on the business. Right? There's a lot of numbers being put out. A lot of it conflicts with one another depending who it is. A lot of it are from third-party companies, Nielsen, right? Antenna, ComScore. There's so many companies pushing out numbers. But what I like always doing is defaulting to numbers that we know come directly from the content owners, from the broadcasters, from the D2C streaming services. And one of the things I wanted to highlight was that this industry has been talking about pay TV being outdated, dead, dying, not a great way to consume video, talking about pay TV providers going under, right? Basically doom and gloom. These numbers come from the 2024 NFL wildcard games, and these are broadcast TV numbers for the most part. And if you take a look what some of these numbers are, right? Fox, 43.4 million. NBC had 38.3 million. These are peak viewers. ESPN had 28.6. Now, the Peacock one is unique, obviously, because that was exclusive to streaming only. But look at the numbers that we're talking about here. These are really big numbers on TV. Now, if you look in the bottom, the NFL streaming viewership makes up less than 10% of all viewership when it's not exclusive to streaming. Less than 10%. So where are we still watching sports? TV. TV is where we're still watching sports. It is still the easiest experience in terms of watching sports because we know where it is, because we don't have to search for it. Yesterday, a lot of people were being asked on panels, when is the sports viewing experience going to get where I don't have to figure out 5 or 6 different platforms to get content? I used the example recently in my podcast. If you're a Yankees fan, you have to have 5 different services this year to watch every game. 5. And the problem is when you go to a bar on Friday night, you ask someone to put on Apple TV, the first thing they say is, what is that? Right? Bars don't have Apple TV, majority of them. So it's hard to find the games we want to watch. That is why people still have pay TV. And the licensing and the rights, right, there's a lot of money still in it. And that's why these networks are still licensing sports content. So I still happen to think, which is probably shocking to many of you, that pay TV is one of the best experiences out there for consuming video. For me personally. Why? Because I know where everything is. I know the quality it's at. I can get most of the content I need. And compared to live linear services for streaming, my pay TV service is cheaper than live TV streaming services. If you look at Hulu plus live TV, Fubo, right, some of those streaming services where it's a similar cable lineup, I pay less money in a triple play bundle with Verizon than I would if I bought it separately as streaming. Right, that's the reality of it. So this is still a good experience for a lot of people. And how do we know that? These are the viewership stats. These are directly from the companies. The companies put these numbers out usually within a couple days of something like the wild card games. This is directly from them in either press releases. Fox likes to do everything through their PR Twitter handle, but otherwise these are all press releases. So I made this figure after the last Super Bowl. It's interesting in our industry how we talk about the Olympics or Super Bowl as being these huge, large events. They're actually not. If you go to, you guys are all taking photos, I'll make this easy for you, superbowlstreaming.com. How I got that domain, I don't know. But I've had that domain about 10 years. I'm waiting for Amazon or someone else who streams the Super Bowl one day to come to me and be like, you're giving up that domain. It's coming, I know. But that's where this chart is. Now, as it says here, for the full explanation of the numbers, not all these numbers are technically apples to apples. In the early days, we did this based on a simultaneous stream count measurement. Today, it's AMA, average minute audience. Not quite the same thing, but pretty close. But I'm a stickler when it comes to attention for details and methodology. So if you go to the blog, it breaks down each year what the measurement was. It also doesn't show the first year that it was done. 2012 was not listed because back then for the first Super Bowl, they gave out, I believe it was just total number of viewers or minutes streamed. It was the first time ever. But as you can see here, right, the Super Bowl is not that large of an event. The Olympics isn't that large as well. So we have to really focus as an industry on what's taking place every single day with streaming as opposed to a one-off large-scale live event. And something like the Super Bowl, it's only available in the US for streaming. That's where the rights are. As I mentioned yesterday, in the time that we're sitting here right now for the next hour, another half hour, you have over 1 billion video plays around the world that is taking place. So every day there's all this great streaming taking place, every single day, every minute. Things like the Super Bowl are not that big of a deal. Someone left a comment on my blog when I put this up, and they said, yeah, but just wait till the Super Bowl goes streaming only. Yeah, that's not happening. I'll bet you anything you want it's not happening, and by the way, the rights are locked up for another 9 years to pay TV. Right? So Super Bowl is not going to go streaming only. There's no benefit there to the broadcast networks or the NFL to do that. So these are the numbers. This is them. One caveat. The last Super Bowl that we just had, They did not put out numbers. It's the only year they didn't put out an AMA number. So that 8.5 million is my number. People who know my connections can guess where that number came from, but also you could do the reverse math because Paramount did put a post up on LinkedIn with some numbers on the Super Bowl, and if you just did the math, you can see the number is 8.5. But technically, they never put out a press release. That's the only company in all the years of the Super Bowl that never put out a press release afterwards based on viewership. Why? Can't comment on that. Don't know. But those are the numbers. That's what we have in the market today. So pay TV, it's still here. You're going to hear about it today. You're going to continue to hear about it in the industry. This idea that everybody's getting rid of pay TV and we're replacing it with streaming, it is not happening. That is not reality. None of these Super Bowls were in 4K. None. 2 years, I believe, they were upscaled, but that's not true 4K. The average bit rate on the last Super Bowl was around 6.8 megs, which was good. But what percentage of the Super Bowl any year was watched on mobile? I don't know. No one will tell us. What was the average viewing time? Don't know. What was the average bit rate? Well, they won't say. So it goes back to what I was saying earlier in terms of viewership and engagement. Simply saying you have 7 million AMA doesn't really tell us much in terms of what we're consuming and how we're consuming it. The other key thing to note here is I call out on my blog, none of these numbers are unique. It's not 7 million unique viewers. It's just 7 million viewers. 7 million AMA, average minute audience. So if you tune in and you close out the player and you come back 20 minutes later, are they counting you twice? I don't know. None of them disclose methodology. We have no idea. So to me, I look at these numbers and it's like, well, that's actually not necessarily unique people. That's something to keep in mind. Because when we get numbers out from the Super Bowl on broadcast TV, we know what the methodology is. Broadcast TV has a standard. In our world, we have no standards. Almost 30 years later, we have no standard when it comes to format, bitrate, aspect ratio, player, protocol. Yes, things like dash, HTTPS delivery, or HTTP delivery, and some other things are certainly some standards we're seeing in the market. Some protocols have standardized, but look at all the codecs that we're still using. So it's very unique in the sense that we have an industry that doesn't have a lot of standards compared to broadcast. I put up on my blog maybe about a month ago a list of the largest live events ever in the history of the streaming industry. So if you just go on my blog and type in live events, you will get a list. I actually list the top 20 for this slide. I did the top 10. I know it's hard to read, apologies, but I just wanted to highlight here. We hear a lot of talk in the industry about the largest live events, and I see people comparing 59 million for cricket or World Cup or whatever it might be to broadcast TV. Can't do that. You cannot compare the two numbers. Okay, the IPL cricket, the average bit rate was under 1 meg. Under 1 meg. It was 900 kilobits per second. We can't compare that to broadcast TV. It's not a fair comparison from a quality standpoint. Right? Streaming is not the same from a quality and reliability standpoint and distribution standpoint to pay TV, and it shouldn't be compared to it in that regard. It's a different experience. Convenience, for sure. So these are some of the numbers as you can see. If you look at this, every single thing up here is cricket, except for Riot Games, e-gaming, and then we get down to a League of Legends and cricket. So the top 10 are all cricket and gaming. Super Bowl didn't even make the list, right? It's not even close. Super Bowl 8.5, the lowest one at 10 is 18.6. So the reason I do this on the last slide, and I'm going to bring Winston up in a minute, is it's important to remember that we have to take a view of what's going on globally with streaming and not just have it be US-centric. It's incredible how much in the US we talk about what we're doing here, and yet then you look at what's taking place in India with cricket. 59 million, okay, lower bit rate, but 59 million. Also, we get some engagement times from Geo. Disney Plus Hotstar has put out some engagement times in previous years. The engagement times in some of the cricket, streaming is almost 3 hours. Almost 3 hours. That's incredible. So my point is, we have to take a global view here. There's a lot we can learn from other regions of the world of what they're doing. Also think about over the last couple of years, every streaming service in the US has gone what? International. Right? Max just went international, is pushing hard. Disney Plus obviously pushed hard as well. Amazon's already been international for quite a long time. Most of the others, Paramount Plus, right? They're international now as well. So we have to look at what's going on internationally. There's a lot we can learn from other countries. How we consume content versus how others consume content in other regions. The experience they want to have. Mobile's not big here. We don't do a lot with mobile. We don't. It's still short form. And yet people are spending hours on their mobile phone watching cricket. And it's a very different demographic. So there's a lot we can learn from that. So I'm going to have Winston up here. If you have any questions, as I mentioned yesterday, my job is one thing and one thing only, and that is to inform, educate, and empower everybody. So I take calls from content owners, broadcasters, sports leagues, vendors, Congress, Senate, when they're thinking about things like net neutrality or whatnot. I try and stay away from all the political things. Every time I've been asked to testify in front of Congress or Senate, I've declined it. Why? Because they're going to use you for their own political advantage. But the point is that there's a lot of people looking for information. So my job is to connect everybody to that. One of the ways you can educate yourself is I've tried to do the work for you. So follow me on LinkedIn. The only thing I push up on LinkedIn is business information tied to numbers. I don't push up, a company just put out a press release. LinkedIn is a business platform, I think. Unfortunately, it's incredible how much content is going on LinkedIn now that is not business related. No offense, I don't really care where you ate dinner last night, right? The funniest thing I see on LinkedIn is my kid graduated from 5th grade. I don't know of any kid who didn't, right? I mean, and if your kid didn't, are you putting it on LinkedIn? No. So that's the stuff I just don't think we need on LinkedIn. It should be about business, not politics, but it's a free world. Put up what you want. But everything I put up on LinkedIn is tied to numbers. So I track over 40 public companies in our space, both vendors, D2C. I listen to every quarterly earnings call, look at all the SEC documents, and I recap and just very quick, to the point, bullet points. Here's the numbers you need to know. Here's the impact. Here's the cash flow. Here's the profitability. Here's the P&L of what this company is doing. Many times in press releases, not a lot is listed. You go and you read the quarterly filings, you get all kinds of great information. So I read through all of that. So if you don't have the time to do that, follow me on LinkedIn. Every quarter, I put up a post for every company. So you're talking almost 200 posts a year just tied to financial information of public companies. So LinkedIn is a great source. Also my podcast, I try and recap in 30 minutes with Mark Donegan, just the news you need to know that week. But again, nothing tied to high level generic. Right? I live in reality, not fantasy land. Right? So I'm not talking about we're seeing a growth of FAST. Thanks, we already know that. We're at a streaming show. We know FAST is growing. Right? But what is the business behind it? Who's making money? What are the CPMs? What are the engagement times? If there's 800 channels, isn't that a problem? We're being overwhelmed. So my job is to inform everybody as best I can. Also, just finally, if I don't have the information, I'll try and find it from you. Right? I don't know everything. I cut very deep in terms of what I know, but if I don't know it, chances are I know somebody who might. I'm happy to put you in touch with them as well. So if there's a way I can help, please do let me know. Today, if you do need help, please do text or phone calls only. I will not be on email today. Also, I woke up this morning to about 120 LinkedIn requests. I will get to all of them after the show, one at a time. But I won't be on email and LinkedIn for another day or two. So the best thing to do is just send a text. Paul will help you out if I don't have my phone, but we'll make sure we help you out today. So with that, I'm going to have Winston come up, and we're going to kick off here with Amazon Prime Video.